Welcome. I'm Athaga Crispy, and tonight we peer into a tragedy that shattered not just a family but the entire nation. A story of unimaginable betrayal, twisted love, and the darkest corners of a household that from the outside appeared perfect. Tonight, we unravel the story of Lyle and Erik Menendez, two brothers whose names are forever etched in the annals of American true crime. This is not just a tale of murder, but of manipulation, fear, and psychological torment. A crime so shocking it continues to baffle and haunt. But this isn't just a story of killers, it's the story of a family unraveling from within, torn apart by secrets no one could have imagined. Join me as we walk through the twisted halls of the Menendez mansion and into the minds of two brothers who crossed the ultimate line. Before we dive into the full depths of this chilling story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more gripping tales like this one to light. Imagine Beverly Hills, tree-lined streets, grand homes, and the opulence of high society. Among these, a family seemingly perfect, the Menendez. José, the ambitious patriarch, a mogul in the entertainment industry, who climbed the ranks, commanding respect through his success. Beside him, Kitty, the devoted wife, maintaining the facade of an impeccable life despite internal demons she hides behind smiles. And then there are the children, Lyle and Erik. On the surface, two young men blessed with every privilege, private schools, luxury cars, dream vacations. Their life appears to be the embodiment of the American dream. But what lies behind these gilded walls? But as we know, appearances can be deceiving. While the Menendez family presented a flawless image to the world, the cracks beneath the surface were already widening. José Menendez was known to be ruthless in both his career and his family life. His ambition, while driving him to the top, turned into relentless control at home. His expectations of Lyle and Erik were nothing short of perfection, and failure was not an option. Behind closed doors, the brothers felt the suffocating pressure to live up to their father's expectations, and rumors of a toxic home environment began to surface. Kitty, once a vibrant woman, was crumbling under the weight of depression and substance abuse, leaving her sons isolated in a world where love was conditional and the fear of their father was constant. Lyle, the eldest, charismatic and confident, appeared to be following in his father's footsteps, a natural leader. But under the weight of his father's expectations, he harbored resentment, feeling like he could never live up to the impossible standards set for him. Erik, the younger brother, more sensitive and reserved, lived in the shadow of Lyle and José. A talented tennis player, Erik excelled in sports, but he was deeply troubled, plagued by anxiety and self-doubt. The world may have seen two golden boys, but inside the brothers were carrying scars no one could see. As we peel back the layers of the Menendez family dynamic, the first hints of trouble emerge. Were these brothers truly destined to follow the path set for them by their father, or were they walking towards something far darker? August 20th, 1989. It was a warm summer night. José and Kitty Menendez were sitting in their den watching TV. Lyle and Erik leave their parents' home, heading out for a movie, or so they claim. But the peace of the evening would soon be shattered by a hail of bullets. José and Kitty Menendez were found dead in their living room, shot multiple times with a shotgun. José and Kitty Menendez were found dead in their living room, shot multiple times with a shotgun. The crime scene is brutal. José and Kitty Menendez are found dead, shot multiple times at close range. José's body is riddled with bullets, his face barely recognizable. Kitty, too, is shot as she attempts to flee. It's a scene of unimaginable horror, and at first, the police investigate it as a robbery gone wrong. Lyle and Erik, devastated, called 911. At first, nothing seemed suspicious about the brothers' behavior. The crime was violent, brutal, but the theory of a botched robbery made sense. For a time, the brothers are seen as victims, two young men devastated by the loss of their parents in such a violent manner. They attended the funerals, wept publicly, but soon something seemed off. Lyle and Erik began to spend their inheritance extravagantly. Gradually, doubts began to emerge. Were the brothers truly victims, or was there something more sinister behind this facade of sorrow? As the weeks go by, the brothers' story starts to unravel. Their lavish spending habits after the murders, a Rolex watch here, a new car there, start to raise eyebrows. Why would two grieving sons suddenly go on a shopping spree with their inheritance? The police grow more suspicious, and their investigation begins to focus on Lyle and Erik themselves. The turning point comes when Erik, consumed by guilt, confesses to his therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. Erik tells Oziel that he and Lyle were the ones who killed their parents. But this was no ordinary confession. It would spark one of the most sensational trials of the decade. The brothers didn't deny the crime, but they claimed it was an act of desperation, born from years of abuse at the hands of their father. The police, armed with Erik's confession, arrest both brothers, and the world watches in shock as the golden boys of Beverly Hills are charged with the brutal murder of their parents. But the question remains, was this a cold-blooded act of greed, or the desperate act of two boys pushed to the edge? (1993). The Menendez brothers go on trial for the murder of their parents, and the courtroom becomes a battleground. The brothers claim they killed José and Kitty out of fear for their lives. They describe years of unimaginable abuse at the hands of their father, sexual, emotional, physical. They say that on the night of the murders, they believed their parents were planning to kill them to hide the abuse. Their defense paints a picture of two boys trapped in a nightmare, pushed to the brink by a father whose cruelty knew no bounds. But the prosecution has a different story to tell. They argue that this was a premeditated act of greed. Lyle and Erik, they say, were spoiled rich kids who wanted their inheritance and were willing to kill to get it. They point to the brothers' extravagant spending after the murders as evidence of their motive. Why, they ask, would two grieving sons suddenly start buying luxury cars and designer clothes? The trial is filled with emotion. The brothers break down in tears on the stand, recounting the horrors of their childhood, while the prosecution tries to dismantle their claims piece by piece. The media turns the trial into a spectacle, and the public is divided. Were Lyle and Erik victims of abuse, or were they simply murderers who killed for money? In 1996, after years of legal battles, Lyle and Erik Menendez were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice had been served, but the questions lingered. Their story, however, doesn't end there. In the years that followed, their case has remained a subject of fascination and debate. Were they truly victims of abuse who acted in self-defense, or were they cold-blooded killers who fabricated a story of abuse to save themselves? The Menendez brothers' legacy is complicated. They are both villains and victims in the public eye, their actions raising questions about the effects of abuse, trauma, and wealth. To this day, there are those who believe they were justified in their actions, while others see them as nothing more than greedy murderers. The truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. Today, Lyle and Erik Menendez languish in prison, living with the ghosts of their past. But the question persists: are they monsters or victims of their circumstances? The Menendez brothers, a name forever tied to one of the most tragic and infamous cases of familial betrayal. As we look back on this twisted saga, we are reminded of the fragile bonds that hold families together and how quickly they can unravel. Were they monsters, or were they the ultimate victims of a life lived in fear? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. If this story captivated you, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the darkest corners of the human mind. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.